Hello guys, back here with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the powerlifting history from 1991 to 1999. So these are just going to be a couple of quick snips of information for you. Just keep it nice and short, just give you a little bit of what, let you know what was happening around the time in powerlifting. So we had a couple of major organisations in the world at the moment. We had the World Drug Free Powerlifting Federation, which specialised in drug testing. I believe they drug test about a quarter of the lifters every year, so that's a very high percentage. We've got the USPF, which was a precursor to the USAPL. We've got the IPO, which specialised in equip lifting, as well as the WPC, which specialised in equipped and raw, and the APF, which specialised in equipped and raw. And then we had the IPF, which was an equipped only federation, mainly focusing more on the single ply side of things. So that's just quick, what was the organisations at the time. One of the major key moments of the 90s was Ed Cohen's legendary 1,117.5 kilo total in single ply at 100 kilos body weight. That's still an incredible total to today's standard. He did it in the IPF. If you look what's winning the IPF equipped worlds now in the 105 categories, it's around that ballpark. It's an incredible total that still hangs to today's standard. We also saw Becca Swanson. She's regarded as the greatest female powerlifter of all time. She started a rise in the 90s before really coming into her stride in the early 2000s. As well as that, we saw a huge jump in female participation. So before the 90s, it was the split was heavily favouring men, and from the 90s we kind of saw like the split we've got now. It is really quite 50-50. There is a lot of female powerlifters, maybe 60-40, but there's a very large amount of female powerlifters, a lot more than you would first think, is what we're going to say. And in the 90s, we saw the introduction of multiply powerlifting. So people wearing multiple layers, multiple plies of, the squat suits, which had come in the 80s and 70s, and really just like doubling, tripling, quadrupling. No, this is sort of like the experimentation era, where people were like, well, if 2's good, why don't we use 8? And people found like the sweet spot. Bench shirts tend to be 2 to 3 plies, squat suits, and then briefs. You can have like a 4-ply squat suit and a 4-ply briefs. People really started experimenting around this time period. And because of this, we saw 1,000-pound squats, so 455 kilos was starting to become regular. As crazy as that sounds, they were starting to become regular. As well as 700-pound bench presses were becoming pretty frequent, so that's 318 kilos. They were becoming common occurrences with the introduction of this new kit. And we saw the boom of West Side Barbell. So if anyone's into the equipped side of things, you will have heard of West Side Barbell more than likely. Famous for their training methods, some of the great lifters that have come through their systems. That place really began to boom. You can see a lot of that in the documentary film video, West Side versus the World. I highly recommend watching that. It's very entertaining. We see how it grew from just a little gym up to like be regarded as one of, if not the best powerlifting gym in the world. And all of that began happening in the 90s, but led by Leona Lewis-Simmons. So overall, in the 90s, participation rates grew, which I am going to say on every one of these videos. Participation rates grew. Bigger numbers became more frequent. And we'll see going into the 2000s where the true motto really was bigger is better. We sort of lost a little sight of pound for pound around that time, and it really was just big lifts. They got the media more than like your modern day John Hacks that were like getting the pound for pounds. Ed Cohen's really started to. It probably didn't help with Ed Cohen retiring in the 2000s, the early 2000s. He was like the He was like the poster boy for pound, a bit like Austin Perkins is nowadays. So with all that going down, we really did see the rise of the big lifters. And that all started in the 90s. The 90s really laid the groundwork for what was to come. But that about does it for this week. Next week, if you can't tell, we're going to be covering 2000 to 2008, where I say the big numbers became massive. So thank you for joining me, and until next week, keep lifting that big weight.